Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Jacob's Ladder. I am your host, Jacob Israel, and I'm happy that you're all here. This is bad. This is bad. And yeah, it's really happening. Bad for who is the question. Let's take a look at this thumbnail, shall we? Give me a shout out in the old live chat. We got a lot of people here already. Everybody's excited. It's Monday. Monday, can you hear me okay? Does everything sound great? Well, that's great. I even put on a fancy shirt for you, huh? What about them apples? Jacob cleans up nice when he's got his little beard back. I'm excited. It's war! But the question is, war on who and war with who? The whole world order has been changed. Everything that we thought we knew has been flipped on its head. The world is no longer the world that we know it to be, and there's a lot of crazy things happening. I'm going to bring you up on a lot of things that maybe happened over the weekend, and we're going to talk about some other stuff that's really just going to, it's going to get you excited, and it's going to, some people are going to scream and shout and be like, hooray, it's about time. And other people are going to be like, oh, this isn't that great. I'm not that excited. You know what today is? Does anybody know? Today is President's Day. Hopefully I'm not glitching out too much. It looks like we're glitching a little bit, but that's okay. We'll do what we gotta do. We started at 222 on the nose. Today's President's Day. I actually put this out. Now, they reminded you that on President's Day, just a little while ago, it says, they're not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in the way. Happy President's Day. And they put out the two pictures that you're probably well aware of. The one that was the mugshot, and of course the one that is, they're both actually hanging in the White House right now, but the other one is his recent. And I got to tell you, it looks cool too. If you think about it, the two of them side by side, they almost look like twins. Very strange. You know, I always thought when I read that, when it said they're not after me, they're after you, I always thought to myself, what does that mean? Because I thought that they were really after. I thought that they were. Is it just me? Didn't you think that they were after him? Wasn't that like the thing? Maybe they were really just after him because they were after us, is what he's saying. But let's put that aside for a moment. We're going to put a pin in that because it means a little bit more than maybe we understand. But I'll tell you one thing. President Donald Trump, the Trumpster, who's getting rid of everything. USAID gone, right? Department of Education fizzled out. There's so much stuff happening. It's not. They're going into the. They're going to go see if there's actually gold in Fort Knox next. It's It's exactly what President Trump said. He said, once this thing starts, it's going to make your head spin. And so you probably understand why a lot of it said that we should keep our head on a pivot because things are going to move so fast. You better keep. It's going to be hard to keep up. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? He said this quote, okay, where he says, basically, if you're doing something for the country to save the country, it's not illegal. Doesn't matter what it is. That's a quote from Napoleon, and that sent everybody into a hissy fit. They all went nuts. And we're going to talk about a little bit with numbers, too. I know it's a little woo-woo, but it's interesting, and we're going to learn something in Scripture from it, too. But between the two pictures that you see there, the mugshot and, of course, him now, he is president, it is 510 days. 510 days. When I think of 10, I think of 555. I don't know why it is. I see 3 5s there. It's going to make sense in a little while. Let's just put that aside for a second. Let's talk about the meltdown that the liberals are having, as they say. And by the way, if you're a liberal, that's great. If you're a Republican, that's great. I don't judge. I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative, or I don't care what you are. Honestly, God doesn't look to your political affiliation. He doesn't look to the outward man. He doesn't look to, what you look like. He really just looks to the heart. He cares about your heart, and so do I. But all the news is that he put out this one little post about Napoleon, and everybody's like, that's it. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to be a dictator. That's what everybody's saying. He wants to be a dictator. That's what everybody's saying. But is that really the case? I don't think that that's really the case. I really don't. I think that maybe there's a little bit more. And why would I say that? Well, what do you know? What do you know? I put a post out about Napoleon. Well, what are the odds of that, right? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Well, you know why? Because if you pay attention to the signs, I say this often on the show. Jesus said, he says, you can tell what the weather's going to be like by the weather. You could say tomorrow's going to be nice or tomorrow's going to be bad. This is how fishermen, they used to be able to discern the signs for the weather by what's going on at the moment. You look at stuff that's happening and being revealed. You could kind of, if you think about it, you're like, well, why was that guy wearing a Space Force hat exactly 555 days or something, or 55 weeks and 5 days? Why was he in Napoleon's tomb talking about how Space Force is coming down and it's going to be like a virus? It's going to like attack everything. The World Health Organization, Macron said it's coming. It's like, it's very strange. So when I saw this guy, his name is Pascal, I put a post out exactly 55 weeks and 5 days before President Trump says, if it saves the country, it's not illegal. So before President Trump puts out this little line, which, by the way, he attached to a picture of, there you go, from the Oval Office. There's the White House right there. Let me blow the picture up. Let me blow the picture up just so you can see it, because I find this all to be very telling. Okay? He who saves his country does not violate any law. So what is it going to take to save the country? Does that mean that we're going to have to crack some eggs? Does that mean that some organizations that maybe have been like a mainstay in the United States of America have to be totally ransacked, shut down? Is that what it means? Yeah, that's what it means. Is some of it going to be, done without being in accordance to the Constitution and the law? Well, that stands to reason. We're going to see. Right now, Elon and the Doge crew and everybody else, and he's on X, and he's doing a great job of getting everybody to agree that the judges that are really the only check in place, they're being kind of like a dictatorship, that the judges, they shouldn't have like a lifespan as the judge. They should be able to be impeached. And a lot of people agreed with this. I mean, I don't disagree if they're bad. But I mean, we do need checks and balances, right? We can't just have, unless, of course, that's what God has planned. This is nothing new, right? So I find it interesting. He puts out this post about Napoleon. I'm like, I think I did a post about Napoleon. And it was like almost a little test that I put out, because it was about the Napoleonic Wars. And if you know anything about the Napoleonic Wars, this is when Napoleon decided, I'm going to be the emperor. And he even came up with a new code of ethics and like a new rule book. It's called the Napoleonic Code of how things are going to be. All right. Education is going to be like this. The army is going to be like this. It's like a kind of a breakdown of how things are going to be. We're changing. Okay. I know that things used to be a certain way, but Napoleon's like, no, we're doing it. We're doing it new. It's going to be a new day, and there are going to be new rules to it. So here you see the post where it says, Trump, if it saves the country, it's not illegal. And of course, everybody's losing their mind. And he's doing the old fist pump thing, which everybody loves, the fight, fight, fight. But that fist pump, that means a little bit more than you think, because it actually is connected to, it's really connected to solidarity. It was used in workers' movements back in the day, but it's also known for the old communism, the hand up in the air, but really solidarity and unity. So let's not think that it means something worse than it really means. Maybe it does mean unity. Maybe it does mean it's time to unite. So here we see the post that I put out 55 weeks and 5 days earlier, where Pascal, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. That's the guy right there. And if the audio wasn't so low, I'd play it for you. I'll sum it up for you. But this guy, he says the storm, okay, that is a reality in 2024. He says there's a virus that's called Space Force is coming for you. And I wrote Napoleon's tomb. It's timely. And then I pointed out, for whatever reason, the Napoleonic Wars. And I said, and you know the funny thing about the Napoleonic Wars happened the same time as the cicadas. The last time the cicadas, those two groups, that big bloom that we had on the back half of the second eclipse, the cicadas, that when they happened in about 1803, this is connected to the Revolutionary War, 1776 and all that, when it actually happened, the people thought that it was literally the locusts of Revelation. They wrote about this. They thought it was the apocalypse. Well, we're in the apocalypse. That's what it was. We're in the apocalypse. They're not locusts, but that's what they thought they were. So there's a connection there. Thank you, Carrie, for the Super Chat 1111. My favorite numbers. By the way, if you want to get some of the merch, I'm not wearing it today, except for I do have the mug. You want to be God's champion? You want to sip some nice sleepy time tea? You can go to the links in the description below. All the links are there. You just click on more, open it up again, and then all the links will appear. If you want to support the channel, you want to support the work I'm doing here, it's appreciated. But the fact that it was like 55 weeks and 5 days, and of course, between the two presidential pictures of the mugshots, 510 days, I think to myself, well, 555 in Strong's. That's the, if you don't know what Strong's is, it's a book. It takes words that are in the Bible and it attaches a number to it and a definition to it. And what it means is the putting off of the flesh. Basically, it's only found in one book, which is Colossians chapter 2. And the passage is, I'll just read the, in context. In Christ, you've been brought to the fullness. He's the head over every power and authority. In Christ, you were also circumcised with a circumcision not performed by human hands. Okay? This is something that we've been talking about on the channel recently. Circumcision, the number's 555, right? It was even in my Super Bowl show. If you didn't see my breakdown of the Super Bowl show, you should. It was really, I worked really, really hard on it. Maybe a little too hard. I probably should have put it out like a little bit sooner. But it's really good, and it goes into the circumcision of the flesh and the putting on of the new man, which is found in this passage. Your whole self, you were ruled by the flesh. And what is the flesh? All that's in the flesh, right? It says all that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Your lust, your carnal nature, your soulish behavior. A little bit of Bible insight for you. That back in the day, Israel put the blood over the door. They sacrificed so that the angel of death wouldn't kill them. But what did that sacrifice? Because God doesn't care about a literal sacrifice. He doesn't want you to kill an animal and put literal blood over your door. It's a symbol. Well, in the scriptures, it says the nephesh of the body is the blood. It's found in the blood. The life of the body, some translations say, is found in the blood. The soul of the body is found in the blood. It's really the soulish nature, which is what needs to be shed. You got to shed your soulish, carnal nature in the world. The flesh man has to go bye-bye. John the Baptist said, I must decrease, Christ must increase. Jacob must take a back seat to the Christ that is now the head, that is performing the circumcision of that soulish nature, the flesh. See, it's nothing to do with literally on the 8th day, you chop off wieners. That's not really what it's really about. It's a symbol. It's a symbol. It's a covenant that God makes with his people. So that word 555 was put off when you were circumcised. Now, ironically, we talked about it because when Elon was putting out his hairy bowls, when he was in his hairy bowls days for the second time, his bottom line said circumcisions at a discount, now 50% off. Now, why am I bringing up circumcisions? Why am I bringing up the flesh? Why is this important? Because this is what's happening. If you haven't put off that carnal nature, if you haven't put your trust completely in God, the days ahead are going to be really rough for you. You're going to be terrified. That's why you need to put your trust in God. You need to do the right thing. You need to stop being corrupt. You need to stop being ripped. If you got any addictions, now's the time to stop them. If you got any compulsions, now's the time to cut it out. Okay? You need to move on into a better day because it's not going to be good for the wicked. It's not going to be good for the corrupt. I know that the scripture says that, we should pay attention no longer to the outward court. Like I shouldn't be talking to you about Elon right now and his 13th child and his baby mama. I'm going to do it because it seems like everybody's up in arms over it. I shouldn't be talking to you about like the Tate brothers. I shouldn't be, which by the way, the Trump administration is kind of saying to them, hey, why don't you let him come back in? Why don't you? I'm like, what is going on? This guy's not a good guy. This is not a good guy. Maybe the whole thing was a big operation. Maybe we don't know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. I put this out on X. I said to yourself, do you know, maybe your heroes just have good PR and they're not. They're really villains. And maybe the guys that you think are villains are really the good guys. Because right now, what's going on with Doge? I mean, it sounds pretty good to me. But what do I know? We're not going to know until we see the effects of it. That's the problem. You got to have faith. I have faith. We're exactly where I thought we would be. So I trust that God has it there for a reason. Look, the Justice League's almost completely formed. We're waiting for, one guy. He's going to come in and then they're complete. And they're going to take on the Legion of Doom. The Legion of Doom that he may have been talking about from Napoleon's tomb. It's war, basically. I mean, he said it's coming. And now here it is. And now here he's quoting some 55 weeks and 5 days later, he's quoting Napoleon. Now, here's really strange about Napoleon. Before I even get to that, I want to show you, just so you know that I'm not like really losing it here. 555, the number's 5 is something I've been talking about quite a bit. I believe I have it here somewhere. Oh, there he is. Isn't that cute? He's next. Justice League is almost complete. Let me see if I can find this roll-in for you. And I'll just play it for you. By the way, if you're not following me on X, you should. Okay? And here you go. Yes, President Trump quotes Napoleon not to declare himself emperor, in my opinion. But we may see some kind of stuff with France, with Macron, the World Health Organization, and more. Just keep an eye out for it. That's basically what I was saying. All right, so here is this. Let me pause this. And so just so you could just take a listen to this so you get an idea. And then maybe it'll also encourage you to check out my Super Bowl show. All right, take a listen. A 3x3 grid. That was discovered, and it dates back to ancient Egypt. It has different names for the game. Tic-Tac-Toe is what you probably know.
Shall we play a game?
It was actually the first game in 1952. The Tic-Tac-Toe history changed dramatically when the game was brought to the digital world in 1952 as a game called OXO. Produced by Sandy Douglas, a British computer scientist, it became one of the first known video games to pit a human player against a computer. And here we are on a tic-tac-toe floor with a computer, a PlayStation controller on the ground. You think that that's weird? You want to know how much weirder it gets? As this thing is lightening up, and there's a little countdown. You'll see the countdown. It actually progresses by the number 5. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. That's like the pentagram. It's a very symbolic number. When you count by 5s, do you know what it means in the occult? Counting by 5s, particularly the number 5 itself, often signifies transformation, change, and the connection between the physical and the spiritual realms. It's associated with freedom and the power of the divine. You could look at it as something spooky. Well, it's going to be something spooky for some, or you can look at it as something almost encouraging. I mean, how is that for, so here I am coming off what? Like one day of posting that where it's all about the 555s. It's interesting because really what it means to cast off the flesh. And really that's what we're going through, right? Jesus said to Peter, he says, Peter, the devil has asked. That's right. The devil needs permission to mess with you. So that means that if you're having hard times, there's there for a reason. God's allowing it for a reason to sift you like wheat, to see what you're made of. See what you're made of. And my goodness, are we going to be sifted like weed if we're not ready to go now? So here's the thing. People are freaking out. People are freaking out and they're like, hey, he's talking about being an emperor. Because really, before becoming an emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte was instrumental in drafting the Napoleonic Code. Napoleonic Code has to do with what he said. So there's a little quinky-dinky-doo, Two of them are together. This was completed in 1804. That's when the cicadas, by the way, right around 1803. Before officially he became Emperor Napoleon, the Napoleonic Code was a comprehensive set of laws that aimed to reform the legal system. Introducing principles of civil law that influenced legal systems worldwide, it covered an area like property rights, family law, civil procedure, the status of women. No more men in sports. It's a redefining of everything. We call this the Trump Code. Call this the new era in the United States, the golden age. But at the same time that all this is happening, all of Europe, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. And they're also doing weird stuff. Like they're doing a lot of weird stuff, right? Like they're raiding homes. I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes. Who saw the 60 Minutes? We got like 1,000 people here. I haven't even asked for a like. Will you do me a favor? Hit the like. Let's see. Let's see if it's true that when I don't say anything, people still have liked. But you could do a little better than that if you want. If you like me, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Europe is losing its mind. Right now in England, do you know that the person who was in charge of the military, you know what they said? You know what they said? Listen to this. You know what they said? They said that our military is like run down and we cannot do any more peacekeeping missions. We can't get involved in Ukraine. So what does Starmer do? You know him. He was just knighted, Sir Starmer. Yeah, look into that guy. Look into that guy. You know who he's good friends with? Or at least has been criticized for being connected to? Remember Jimmy Savile? Remember? A lot of people say that he really kind of protected him. What is going on? Monsters being protected by people that are in power? Maybe a reckoning is coming. Maybe it's not a bad thing at all. Maybe all the corruption that we hoped would be revealed is being revealed. Finally, the reckoning has come to the world in the form of President Donald the Trumpster. The Prime Minister, though, it doesn't matter what they're saying, even though, even though they're like, we're run down, we're not ready to go. The Prime Minister says, we're going to put troops on the ground in the Ukraine to protect peace. We're going to put troops there to protect peace. That's like, we're going to add gasoline to the fire so that it doesn't burn more, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense at all. The Prime Minister's announcement came after the former head of the army told the BBC UK military is so run down, it can't afford to do this. Speaking to the BBC, their BBC breakfasts, which, by the way, we're also learning that all of these like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, all of these things that I grew up with thinking, this is the truth. It's like the veil has been ripped and the truth has been revealed. They're all propagandists. A lot of them got a lot of money from USAID. A lot of money, right? A lot of money. We're also finding out that a lot of money is going to some, people like Bill Gates. And Mr. Fauci, maybe he's going to come under some scrutiny soon too. This isn't good for them. This is bad for them. You see? See, now there's that part of me that's like, oh, well, maybe we're going to see like literal war now, like literal war. I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. I'm not ruling it out. But the reason is because in the book of Revelation, it talks about, that one dude that rides that white horse that carries the bow, set to conquer, set for conquest. The white horse that you see the president riding right there as Napoleon. By the way, I'm not saying that President Trump is a dictator. Okay? I'm not. Other people are. I find this to be incredibly, we'll say, prophetic. That just a little while ago, when that guy with the Space Force hat was standing in front of Napoleon Bonaparte's tomb, he's saying what he's saying about Europe. Trudeau just stepped down. We knew that was coming, right? We've been calling for it. By we, I mean like I've been putting it out. I said, oh, if he corrupts, it's time for him to go. I put a little test out. Time for him to step down, test. And then boom, here we are. Your words have power. People just don't get that. So whether or not they're ready, Starmer says he's going to put people on the ground. We just don't know if that's that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think it's going to be a good thing because who's meeting with the King of the North? I mean Putin, by the way. Donald Trump, he's set to meet with him soon. And they seem to have a love fest for each other. It's funny. I tell the Dan about this. You know what Danielle says? She goes, it's not a bad thing. I'm like, no, it's not a bad thing. Right? I would like to see some kind of a world order take place. Look what they did to us. Look what they did to us with the virus of the crown. If you think that that's what I want for the rest of my life, no. I wanted all that to be corrected. And now it's being corrected. How funny is that? No one really thought that it would happen, but it looks like it's happening. Looks like it's happening. Now, here's weird. You want to see another little Napoleon-Trump connection, which I think is so interesting and so cool? Napoleon rode a white horse. The horse's name was Marengo. There's a picture of him riding the white horse in the background. Marengo. Well, why I'm thinking about this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I like to call not the snake catcher, but the snake releaser. Because remember his first video, he put the video out and it looked like he caught the snake, but he reversed the footage to mess with people. He was trying to make a little joke. Or maybe he was trying to pass it off like he was a tough guy. I guess the handstand push-ups and the pull-ups and all the other stuff with his shirt off at his age, I guess that's not enough. He has to catch snakes by hands. But all of his videos, and he also has a tendency of wearing that Kraken shirt. I don't know if you ever saw him with that green shirt with the octopus. But every one of the videos where he's with that snake, he has that Kraken shirt on. So he released the snake, reversed the footage. Then another video, he was cutting a snake free, and he was going to let that snake go. And then another video is letting the snake go. The snake gets a bad rep, right, all the time. So you see that and you think, oh, because I made the assumption, of course, Donald Trump talks about the snake. He reads the snake poem. But does that necessarily mean a bad thing? Or does that mean renewal? Because the snake that eats its own tail, the Ouroboros, the 8, which, by the way, they gave everybody 8 months with USAID to hit the bricks. Some people didn't take it. Guess what happened? They got fired with nothing. It was just on 60 Minutes. When the writing's on the wall and they're like, we'll give you 8 months pay, we'll give you this, should have taken it. When you're not welcome anymore, it's time to go, you go. You don't want to stick around. You're not in charge. You're not in charge. God's in charge of it all. Okay, so anyway, so he has this press conference, and I got to tell you, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is so fired up. He's so fired up that, he could just tell that he's having such a great old time. So he has this press conference. He says, we can't be a strong nation if we have a weak citizens. So we need to get healthy. He says, we need a man on a white horse right now. We need somebody who's willing to come in and has the spine and the guts and the strength to challenge orthodoxies, like Napoleon did, by the way, to stand in the way of vested interests, which is what he had posted today for President's Day. They're coming for you. They're not really coming for me. They're coming for you. I'm standing in the way. We need someone to stand in the way of vested interests, to break institutions that have turned against democracy. President Trump has shown again and again that he is that hero. We need a revolutionary figure, and you are that figure, and I'm very grateful for you giving me this opportunity. You remember I had that dream about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right after my accident? It was right after my accident. And I told everybody, there's going to be, and I put the post out where he was giving a speech, and no one cared about Robert. At that time, no one cared about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. No one did. in fact, he was kind of a big joke. Thank you, Rhonda, for the super chat. He was kind of like a big joke, and people were making fun of him and everything because he didn't have the connection to the Trumpster yet. So I had this dream, and because I had already kind of seen the two of them coming together with that WrestleMania where Mr. Kennedy won the Money in the Bank, and it was just very coincidental. So, and then here we have it, right? We have it. Linda McMahon's where she is, Donald Trump's where he is, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. At one point, because when Donald Trump didn't make Tulsi Gabbard, this is a true story, by the way. Thank you, Zechariah. God is in control, he says. That's the truth. At one point, when I saw that he made J.D. Vance the vice president, I thought, he's not going to be president unless he has Tulsi by his side. Said this. And I thought, well, maybe it's going to go because, sometimes you have these weird dreams and you have these ideas you don't really know. So I'm like, well, maybe it's going to be Kennedy. Maybe that'll happen. Because I knew, and then I put a follow-up post and I said, that being said, if Tulsi comes aboard, and she's now the director. She's like one of the most influential and one of the most important positions. Tulsi, Wonder Woman, the Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, you got them all. Oh, it's just a very exciting time to be alive because this is something I know a lot of you on the channel have been here for a long time. You know that like when you first, I said, well, it's going to be Tulsi. She's going to be in there. It's like, what are you talking about? She's just now leaving the Democratic Party. How's she going to be, with President Trump, who's not even in, it was just the whole thing. Didn't make a lot of sense, but here it is. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. calling him the man riding the white horse, the hero. So, of course, I think of Revelation. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of 7 seals. This is Revelation chapter 6, by the way. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come!" And I looked, and behold, there was a white horse, and its rider held a bow. And he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. That word bow is not what you think, by the way. It's like a rainbow. You got to look it up. It's interesting. It's interesting. Someone's saying that I need to put the mic up a little bit. How that? A little better? A little better? I'm trying to get the audio right. It is what it is. But once again, the conqueror that goes out for conquest, he doesn't really have to lift much of a finger. Things just kind of fall into place for this guy. Now, I'm not saying that we're not going to see war in the future. But right now, I think we're going to see a blast. I think the World Health Organization, NATO, all of these things that were like so ingrained, gone. President Trump actually signed an executive order that any person, any school, K through 12, that mandates a virus of the crown, Vax-a-doodle. Can I say that? Vax-a-doodle doesn't get any funding. Also, New York, because, Dan's a teacher here. She's like one of the best teachers in Brentwood, very poor school. And, we spend like a lot of our money to help the children because they can't afford a lot of stuff. They can't even like get Valentine's Day cards to bring them in for the classmates. So Danielle and I, we buy a bunch, we bring them in but she's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen because, they won't give the federal funding if they have an issue with the DEI programs being eliminated. Hopefully listen, you're working for the government. As long as it's not really harming anyone, you should probably follow the rules. Otherwise, you mess around, you find out. And that's what it seems like the deadline, I think, is like. I don't know if it's this week or if it's today, but it's not a great thing. It's not a great thing if they're not going to go along with it. But then again, I looked up how much federal funding, her school district gets. It's not like that much. It's not like, I think it's like $6 million in the grand scheme of things. So what does that mean? That means that all of our taxes are going to be raised up more. I think that my opinion is that if he wants states to decide, we're going to kick all the education back to the states, that's not really kicking all of that back to the states, is it? Because what if they want to do that? You know, if you, it's not really kicking it back to the States if you're saying we're not going to fund you if you disagree. But once again, you know, maybe you don't agree with some of the stuff. Maybe I don't agree with some of the stuff. We just don't know the ins and the outs, and that's the problem. That's why it's very jarring, all this. It gets you stressed out. If you watch 60 Minutes and you believe 60 Minutes, first of all, you should believe that you don't want to ever move to Germany. God forbid. Holy macaroni, Germany is a hot mess. They're literally sending police into people's houses who, sending police into people's houses because they posted memes or jokes or things that could be considered inflammatory or hateful, you know, even if it's like maybe a guy calling another guy, oh, you're so, you know, not heterosexual, as a joke. They're going to come knock on your door. And they are. They're like literally bursting in. You see the top right-hand corner. You see they're taking their devices away. They're taking away the laptops. They're taking away the phones. Germany's laws around speech. In the U.S., most of us, what gets posted online, even if it's hate-filled, is protected. Okay, because we have this thing called the First Amendment. But in Germany, authorities are prosecuting trolls. Could you imagine? I get so much stuff, not even Jewish. I get so much like hateful stuff sent to me or like commented on just because of because I chose that last name. By the way, the reason why I chose that last name, Israel, I was inspired to take it, was because the story is very connected to my life. It's also a story that's connected to all of you because it's really a story of a changed life. The first us in the flesh. That flesh gets circumcised, cut off, not of ourselves, but of Christ. And then we become a new creature. We become a new creation. And also at the time I was working for this Christian television network. So I didn't want to, because I believe very differently. I'm sure you know, right? That a lot of the religious people and religious teachers that think that they know it all, they've been teaching the same nonsense that is hateful and just really divisive and really is not the God that I know. But is a very vengeful, hateful God that doesn't work all things together for the good, that doesn't end in victory, that ends in terrible, horrible defeat. It's a God who doesn't say, listen, you'll pay the last penny. It's a God that says that even if you pay the last penny, it's too late, doesn't matter for you. My God is a God that is just. That means that if you do wrong, you're going to get wrong. You know, the pendulum swings both ways. What is that called? Physics? If it goes up really high, it has to go the other way really high. That's what's happening. This is the smackdown. This is the reckoning. This is bad for some people, not bad for all. But yeah, so 60 Minutes ran this piece, and they really should have commented more about how just disturbing the whole thing is. And they should have really kind of hammered home how, people have to be able to have freedom. They can't be arrested and not because they're saying things. This is a problem. It can be a crime to publicly insult someone in Germany. That's a problem. The punishment can be worse if the insult is shared online because that content sticks around forever. That's the reason. Fink and the prosecutors, they explained that German law prohibits the spread of malicious gossip. Gossip! Now listen, this is a big thing because this is going to tie into something that Elon just reposted about a celebrity who a lot of people think is a pretty horrible, monstrous celebrity. And after his Saturday Night Live appearance, Tom Hanks, how gross that even the writers, forget about that, Lorne Michaels, the whole cast, because you could say, I'm not really a political guy, but you could say that I steer more. I'm like most of my friends are diehard MAGA. Most probably a lot of you that watch are, so it's disrespectful because I know a lot of these people, they're not hateful. They're not bigoted. They're not, a lot of them, like my neighbor is black. It's like, it's almost ridiculous that they would put this. It's so tone deaf that he went on. I don't know if you saw it on Saturday Night Live. They're celebrating their 50 years or so. But this is something that needs to go away. Now, the funny thing is, really sad about this actually, is the fact that even if it's just say it's just misinformation, say it's not even hateful, say it's misinformation, which I've been guilty of reposting. There was something that I thought wasn't even that big of a deal, but I reposted it, and then someone said, "Why did you repost that? Did you even check?" And I was like, "Oh shoot, I didn't check," because it looked like a reputable source. I could have been in trouble for that. I could get arrested for that in Germany. So if Germany has a problem with President Trump in the United States of America, then I think that maybe Germany's going to have a little bit of a problem. And so what does Elon do and everyone on X? What do? They're like, we got to make Europe great again. Got to go in there and overthrow that government because they have the woke mind virus and it needs to be cured. And he's the guy to do it. While he's also having many children, which a lot of people have a lot of kids. I have 4. Only with 2 mothers, and I was married to both of them. My first wife divorced me. But she lives in California. I ended up raising my children. I was a single full-time daddy. I never met my father. I get very offended when people call fatherless children bastards. Think about Jon Snow. All right, think about Jon Snow, who ends up being the hero. But it's a terrible thing that they're calling this child of Elon's. I mean, all these big-time conservative influencers are all of a sudden on a high holy ground calling a newborn child a bastard. It's a horrible thing because I was called a bastard. I never met my father, right? But I ended up becoming a single dad who raised his 2 kids on his own, then married the Dan. We became an instant blended family. We've been together, we're going on 18 years, baby, of marriage. My first date, I met her at a restaurant. I said, "I'm going to marry you in 6 months." I should have been like in 2. She would have loved that. And 6 months later, we eloped and we got married. But Germany, they also did this piece on USAID. Christina Dry was making a big deal, crocodile tears, I guess, fired by US aid. Was a longtime speechwriter for the Biden administration's USAID. She was just on 60 Minutes, and this Derek Evans on X was saying she was playing the victim over government shrinkage. They conveniently left out the fact that she was offered 8 months severance. Why didn't she take it? But the whole thing is like, if you watch 60 Minutes, you think, oh my God, our country it's terrible. But then when you look at some of the things they were funding, look at how much money they gave the Gates Foundation. The guy who's like, let's genetically alter flies and so that they'll go and mate other flies, and then those flies will not be able to have other flies. This is how you kill the food chain. And they released them. And, our government allowed it. There were videos that were going around. I don't know if you remember, the helicopters were coming. You see all this, the big black type of a cloud would come out of the helicopter. They were all flies. They were genetically modified flies that would go and mate with other flies that would then produce infertile flies so that the fly family would die off. Forget about the fact that if the mosquito bites you, what does that mean to you? When you have all this genetic modification going on, how much money did they get? Ridiculous sums. $4 billion to Bill Gates' Gavi. The instant that USAID was getting raided, get this, Bill Gates went on a little bit of a tour. He went on like The View. He was like, oh, I'm very worried about this, and I'm very worried. If you remember correctly, what he did with Microsoft, right? The virus of the computer. Now this is the virus. All of a sudden, he was the hero. Remember? We're all gonna eat bugs. He's like eating the meatball, the hamburger that was made of bugs. This guy, these people. The reckoning's here. This is bad, but not for everybody. So anyway, 60 Minutes has now joined the ranks of being another lame media organization, probably funded also by USAID. I don't know that for a fact. But then the Gavi also got another 880 million. 88. There's that number 88 again. 88's everywhere, right? It was all over the Super Bowl. Samuel L. Jackson had 8 stars, 8 stars. 88 was like everywhere. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. So Elon puts out, anybody want to create a hard-hitting news show on X called 69 Minutes? Which, by the way, 69 is I think it's the Cancer sign. It's more than just being a little goofy. It's more than just being a little crass. It's, although, it's, maybe with him it is. I don't know. I mean, what's going on with his social life, it's all over right now. You could probably see they're even doing like the diagrams of, his children. And if you don't know who Ashley St. Clair is, she's a conservative influencer who put out this little post with the Latin phrase that means the die is cast, which means you did the deed, you had the kid, now you need to pony up, basically, I guess. The story goes that a tabloid had information about their, what do you call it, like a love child? It's his 13th child. He's allowed, right? I don't agree with it. I think that if you're going to have a child, I believe you should be in a committed relationship, a healthy marriage before you have children. Shouldn't just have kids to make the marriage work. And if you have children and your marriage isn't getting along, make sure that you work on your marriage. Figure out a way to love each other. How I did it, it's a very simple trick, is I decided to love Danielle like I love my children. She's around. I made a commitment to her. And I got to tell you, 18 years of marriage, I was just telling her last night, marriage just gets better and better and better. I love her so much more now than when we were fighting and everything else. Like when we first got together, like within a year, we were about to throw in a towel. We even had, it was like ridiculous. We had a little bit of an issue when Ethan was born too. Marriages, they're not easy, but you learn something about yourself and you grow as a person spiritually. And God wants a relationship like that. I'm not going to say what's a biblical marriage, because if you look in the Bible, Solomon had more children and more wives than Elon. Okay. David had, many children. Jacob had the 12 tribes. He had many children. He had multiple wives and handmaids. You look at the Bible, that's biblical marriage. What is marriage? You want to know what it is? According to me, it's not like you say your vows and you go and the government approves it or the church gives a stamp of approval. Marriage is when two people become one. It's the joining of two people. So sex, that's marriage, that's in my opinion. But what ends up happening, here we go, 5 again, 5. Why do I keep bringing up the number 5? 5 is, how many senses do you have? Tell me in a live chat. How many senses do you have? That's right. Yeah, you have 5, right? You can see, you can hear, you can taste, you can touch, you can smell. 5. These are the 5 wounds. Our soulish existence is based on, we got kicked out of the garden, so we focus on what's outside of us. The 5 wounds, symbolic of the 5 senses. 5 is all over Scripture, and it was 5 months ago they welcomed the new baby. Elon is the father. She's not previously disclosed it to protect the child and the privacy, but in recent days, supposedly a tabloid media was going to do a whole to-do, and that's it. And then, of course, some people were like saying congratulations. Like, what are you going to do at that point, right? She already has a child. What do you say? You say congratulations. Being a mother is amazing. I don't know if that's her. She's young. He's my age. She's young. She's like my son's age, I think. Well, no, Noah's 24. She, 27? Doesn't really matter. I don't think she has any children. So, congrats, she has a child. You should be married, sure. But it is what it is. My mother wasn't married. Does that make my mother a bad person? A lot of people called her bad things back in, 1971. Thank you, Awakened. I love you too. With the 222. I love it. I'm going to show Danielle that. She loves that number. I mean, this is like, what do you do? What do you do? Are you going to attack all this? I'm sure Elon is going to, take care of his responsibility. It's not the way I would do it. Maybe it was an accident, Maybe it wasn't done on purpose. Or maybe it was. What does it matter? It's just a distraction from everything else that's going on in the world. There are big things happening right now. And, if you look at what Andrew Tate said, that's not the way to do it. He said, if all your children come from one woman, you're not a conqueror. Give me a break. Give me a break. This guy, he's got to go. He's got to go. It's like, why am I muted? And why am I held back? Right? Why do I do a live show where I used to get 2,000 views and everything else before that second algo came down? Why are channels like mine so stifled? Why do you think we are always asking for you to share it around, like it and everything else when you got these guys? These guys saying the most horrific things. The Quartering, Jeremy, everybody thinks he's such a great guy. I've watched him over the years because some of you actually like the guy. And he's an affable person, except for he's just so horrendously mean that, he actually put this post out. He goes, Ashley St. Clair is a Twitter e-girl who turned it into a $15,000 a month apartment in a free Cybertruck. You got to admire, that's one heck of a come up. And he didn't spell it the way you're supposed to spell it. This is a married man, a grown man, talking about a young woman who's in her 20s, who's a new mother. And mocking her like he's on vacation with his wife. He also said that he's got 12 people work for him. Must be nice to make a lot of money and have 12 people working. I tell you what, why don't you do videos that are as good as my produced videos? It's just me. How come they get pushed and promoted and everything else, and they're adding nothing but trivial, nonsense, childish, rudimentary ego and division and hate and prejudice. That was another thing too. The fact that, she's Jewish, that's a big problem, right? That's a big thing. Now everybody's saying that, they got him. They got Elon. Yeah, okay. They got the most powerful person in the world. They got him. Okay. He's controlled. Everybody wants to think he's controlled. Let me tell you something. The only person I think is in control here is Elon, just so you know. But I think that God's got his hand on the whole thing, so it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. But even WikiLeaks, who once we thought, WikiLeaks is, it's good. They're all about helping and releasing the truth and letting the truth get out there. They're even putting out stuff about Ashley St. Clair. And they're talking about how that her PR strategist, Brian Glitclicks, I don't know how to pronounce his name, previously received $500 and something thousand from an Israeli security company. I mean, wait, what do you care? I mean, really, what do you care? This is just too much, all of this stuff. You wonder why things are going to get the way they're going to get? You have a problem with the price of eggs now? Okay. All right. I haven't been, I don't think I've beaten around the bush with stuff. This wasn't beaten around the bush at all. The fact that Tom Hanks came on and, he was saying that I don't think that everybody needs to, learn, know God and go to church again. Right. And, it was Black Jeopardy. That's what they were doing. And, he was wearing the MAGA shirt with the eagle. He had the big eagle where the eagles are gathered there. Right. And so he says this, and the host comes over and wants to shake his hand, and he's like, oh. So, of course, everybody that is, wearing that red MAGA hat, which we know what it means. Remember, the Magi were the first to go over to bring gifts to Christ. MAGA, wizard, sorcerer, witch, in Latin. Maybe that's not what it means, but there are, wizards and sorcerers all over Scripture. Even Moses did battle with them. So this girl to the left right there, she writes, hi, and it's a 4-letter word, starts with a P, ends with an O, in relation to Tom Hanks. It says, not all MAGA hat-wearing patriots are white. In fact, most racism comes from the other side. You a-hole. And Elon put double fire. He's like, let's repost that. We'll put double fire. But what I'm blown away with is the fact that she started it by calling him like the worst possible thing you can think of. And Elon, who has access to Social Security, which, by the way, we're finding out that there are people that like are a million years old and they're getting their checks still, or so we're told, right? What do we know? What do we know? We just got to trust the process. God's working it out, getting that flesh ripped apart. That's what's happening. Circumcision of the flesh. It's time to stop putting our trust in our own actions and our own thinking, and it's time to put our trust back where it needs to be, in God, and doing the right thing. You do the wrong thing in this coming, this coming day, they'll know about it because there are cameras everywhere. Everywhere. No matter where I go, there's a camera, right? I have a camera. Right now, it's pointed at me. I got another one over here. Go to the street, there's a bunch of them. But he takes this put down, this horrible put down, and he puts it on blast. Millions and millions and millions of people are now saying, oh, you're approving with this girl calling Tom Hanks that word. Now, I don't know if this is true. I should have looked this up. But if I remember correctly, was Tom Hanks and his wife that are like, they're moving to Greece or something? Maybe they were upset that Elon bought X, the Twitter platform, because now he has access to all those DMs and everything else. But then the question becomes, if you're going to put something out like that, because you know that it's true, but you're not going to reveal it, does that make you complicit? Like, why aren't people being held to account? Like, if you're going to promote something like that, you're going to push it out, then reveal it. Reveal it. I think it's time that all the sickos and all the horrible monsters that we've heard about, that people have got their channels shut down for saying things about. I only know Tom Hanks from Forrest Gump and from the movies. I don't know the ins and the outs. I know that he's probably not the best father because I've seen, his one child who, has the Illuminati tattoo. And he says he's in the Illuminati, and he talks about eating children in his jokes, trolling people. I can tell he's not like probably not the best father, Tom Hanks. I mean, I could look at the tree by its fruit, but I don't know if he's, the monster that they're saying. And if he is, shouldn't we know? If influential people in their position are going to boldly promote something like that, shouldn't they back it up? I always had a problem with that, And then I started thinking, this war that's going on, this is what we were talking about with with France and Napoleonic wars. Look what's happening with Macron and his wife. Candace Owens, here's the thing with her. Here's the thing with them all. They're all in the club. Whatever the club is, with the handshake club or the hand sign club, or every time I do a picture, there's a checkerboard floor club. They're all probably connected. Probably Tate's in that too. I mean, for crying out loud, who did Tucker Carlson interview and try to make him out like he's a good guy, right? Maybe they're all in it. Maybe they all work together. Maybe this is a war, right? Maybe they're all in it. And I started thinking, I'm like, maybe Candace, she's connected to Kanye. They're all connected, you see? Russell Brand's now like the new head of Christianity. He seems, he's doing a much better job now that he's not selling amulets and everything else, but he seems, I guess sincere. I don't buy any of it, to be honest, but, he's doing a good job with the role he's playing. If he's sincere, I hope he is. But my point is, they're all connected. They're all connected. And maybe this is like a war, and maybe, you can't fight an enemy that's evil without people that are willing to do things that maybe are, morally ambiguous, right? Maybe these people are doing what they're doing for a reason. Maybe Candace Owens, she's like going off on, she's going off on Macron's wife. All of this, becoming Brigitte and all that. There's there's all of this stuff. It's like huge. And I think to myself, I wonder if that's all part of the plan, and this is what we're seeing. What if we're going to start to see even more? Like, I used to have a problem with, Alex Jones and all of them. Who Alex Jones, by the way, he's become like, in my opinion, he's become like the Sean Hannity of the conspiracy world. He's really become, he's really a rah-rah club for the Trump administration. There's like a change. He's rebranding himself. He's getting healthy and everything else. A lot of people are giving him a hard time because they're having a problem trusting him. But it's almost like, I like the fact that he's gotten healthy. And I like the fact that he, because that encourages other people to do. It's time for us to stop being dumbed down. Maybe he's part of this. Maybe they're all in on it. And that's why I always had a problem, because it was like so obvious. Like when he was cut down, I did a show, like, what was it, 3 days earlier? And the thumbnail had him being cut off of every single platform. 3 days later, he was cut off of all the platforms. And I said, and the title of it was called, Now the Real Censorship Begins. And it did. Now, was that like part of the plan, or is it God revealing stuff? That's my one concern. I don't know. I just have to believe that maybe God is working all things together for the good of those that love God and others. So I'm not going to get too concerned with everything that's happening. I'm not going to get too hung up on whether or not he's got 13 kids, 12 kids, 15 kids, 20 kids, 100 kids. God bless him. God bless his children. I would like all of those children to have a great relationship with their father, and I would like their father to have a great relationship with the mothers. In fact, I had a dream. It's a true story. I had a dream where I was standing there, and there was Grimes, and there was Elon, and he kind of gave me a hard time, made a little joke about me, and she walked away saying something nice about me to him, about me. And it looked like they were a couple. She looked happy and healthy, and she was walking away, and she had like 3 security guards. I posted about this. And now it's like people are like, we want to see Elon and Grimes back together. That was like one of my cool videos. Like if there was ever a video to get Elon to watch the channel, it was probably that one. Because you remember Grimes did that song and that video where everybody was wearing a mask and the dance was like coughing and everything else. And it was like within a certain amount of time, like before the virus of the crown. Sus. The whole thing is sus. Anyway, listen. I don't got all the answers. I'm just a meatball, just trying to do my thing here, follow off my passion and try to encourage all of you. This is what you need to do. You need to give yourself a little bit of a break. You may not be where you want to be in life. You may think that everything's going so terribly wrong. Levi, thank you for the 555. Circumcision is not fun, right? Especially if you're older and you haven't done it. It's probably a lot worse. But that's what's happening. We're getting rid of the carnal man. In the end, God finishes his creation in victory. There are things that are standing in the way of your joy right now. I put this out. I said, what is standing in the way of your enjoying your life right now? And don't think that I got it all figured out. My wife sometimes tells me, she told me this morning. She goes, are you a highly effective depressive today? That's like a word, because I get up and I'm very good at doing everything, but sometimes I don't really enjoy it as much as I really should. The enjoyment has taken back seat to the obligation and the burden of, oh my God, look at what's happening in the world. People are so lost today. And when things get worse, and they may for a lot of people, if you don't have at least your family in check, if you can't rule your family, like if you can't have good relations with your children or your mother or your father or your brothers or sisters or your neighbors, you need to work on it. You need to get it together. You need to forgive. You need to love. Because if you don't love, it's not going to be that great for you. I'm telling you the truth. If there was ever the best advice that I've given my children, it is this. Love God, seek God, always trust God. Know that God's in control. I always told them that. Always do the right thing. Because God speaks. If what you're doing is wrong. Before you post something that is like hateful and arrogant and tear somebody down, pray about it. Cast that devil out. Do something nice. Before you say something terrible about yourself, I'm never going to get ahead. Oh, no one's going to ever share my channel around. Stuff like that I say. Oh, I'm too that's why, by the way, I may end up having a new job soon. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop this, because I prayed and prayed. I said, Lord, if I need another job, I'll take another job, but I'm going to continue to do this. God's going to provide. God's always going to provide. If you continue to put your trust in God and you continue to do the right thing. And the right thing is simply to be moral, to love, to forgive, to not be a big jerk off, right? And that, when you see people having kids out of wedlock, in wedlock, in the grand scheme of things, they were married before they had the kid, because that's what marriage is, just so you know. Man, I wish everybody was a little more healthy today, but we've been brainwashed, and now we need to have our eyes pried open to just how corrupt and how bad things have been. So hang in there, and forgive yourself if you feel like you failed. Just try again. You're gonna be okay. All right, I love each and every one of you. If you want, you get yourself. Look, because I'm going to go clean the bathroom. I got this right here. TrulyFreeHome.com. They are doing, and it's the month's almost coming to an end. It's the 17th, okay? TrulyFreeHome.com. If you go into the link in the description, there's a link there, and you will get 300 free loads of washing detergent for your laundry. That's like a year. How much you can go to like Costco or BJ's or whatever those stores are. Costs a lot of money for laundry detergent. Try Truly Free out and you get it. Go in there, use code Jacob, because whatever you order, you get 30% off. It's the way to go. If you want to support the channel, that's the way to do it. Get some of the merch. Do what you got to do. If you want to read, I'm waiting to hear on this, by the way, with the audio book. Hopefully this will be another thing that God delivers. The Calling, Amazon.com. It's my only novel. It's a novel. It's a fiction. It's an allegory. And there's 2 stories in here. One is an awesome, amazing, wild, like Netflix bingeable series of a ride. You'll finish it in a day or 2. That's the kind of book it is. Every chapter is like an episode if you're a binge watcher. Maybe the next book will come out once the audiobook comes out. We'll see. All right, listen, I got to go. I love each and every one of you. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for subscribing and hitting like and sharing this video around if it meant something to you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. I love live shows.